But I think down the line, maybe in 5 to 7 years, I don't think so there'll be any human intervention to make self-healing approvals, etc.
So how do you define this hyperautomation, and what does it actually look like inside of large organizations like the one that you are today, like in PepsiCo?
It's about how do you automate the decision-making process in all of this. So I was just giving you an example of how does one AI agent hand over to another AI agent to fix something.
Any leader watching today this podcast, if they don't understand AI, it better start now, because they might be out of their job in the next 12 to 24 months from now.
We are interacting with AI everywhere in day-to-day our jobs everywhere. Whether you're writing your own resume, it's now everything is AI.
Hi everyone, I am Diana Daniels and welcome back to the Tech Foresight podcast. This is a podcast where we are exploring the signals of the future. Every week, we are going deep into what these emerging technologies, these bold ideas, and these shifts that are quietly or not so quietly reshaping the way that we work, we live, and we live. And this is not only about this type of hype, it's about foresight. We are asking what is coming in the next 5, 10, and even 25 years, and what should we be doing, and what shall we paying attention to. So today's episode is all about that, because as complex and our systems and the digital systems get multiplied and get more complicated, one of the biggest questions that leaders face is, how do we see clearly, act early, and keep things running before they break? And that's where our guest today comes in. Vinod Chilakalapudi. He is a global tech leader who has made its mission to turn into IT operations into a very proactive and intelligent force. He is the S&T Director at PepsiCo that is leading global teams across India, the US, and Mexico. He is building these enterprise observability platforms, commanding center operations, and all of them are AI-powered governance systems. He's been working across industries from banking to healthcare to energy, and he's also a very proud classmate of the Stanford Alumni Association. So thank you, Vinod, for accepting this challenge of foresighting with us here at the Tech Foresight podcast. And I'm so happy to welcome you today.
Thank you, Diana. It's really a pleasure to have coming into your podcast, Tech Foresights. There've been industry experts being here, and I'm privileged and honored to be here. And thanks for having me, and thanks for the introduction as well, Diana.
Well, I really truly appreciate you being here, and I really want to know. I would love that we actually go back to the foundation of observability. You know, a few years ago, what I'm thinking is that most leaders, they thought as just was a smarter version of monitoring. Logs, dashboards, maybe some alerts that when the things go wrong. But you've been at the forefront of this shift where observability becomes intelligent, predictive, and even preventive. So how do you define it today? What it is observability today, especially in this world where being shaped by AI, everything is changing? Tell us.
All right. So traditionally, it was all about monitoring, looking at what's happening across the board, whether it's your infrastructure, network, or applications and systems, and it's all siloed at one time. Now, there is a paradigm shift in the industry. So observability is the ability to measure the internal state of every system based on the data it generates. It can be logs, metrics, traces, or events. And traditionally, it was about collecting data to look into the system when something went wrong already. But today, there is a huge shift. AI is helping that shift. It's 4x speed it's going on. So it's helping us to shift from reactive to proactive with AI models, especially in anomaly detection, understanding the pattern recognition, and doing root cause analysis. We're no longer just about collecting data. We're actually interpreting the data in real time, true real time. And with this agentic AI revolution and LLMs, they can correlate data to the actual business impact. So we were always doing tech monitoring. Now we're talking about tech monitoring correlate with what is happening in the business and business workflows, and offering intelligent remediation suggestions immediately, and even sometimes trigger automated responses and creating some self-healing systems. So that's where the shift is happening, and it's happening every day, and it's super fast. There are many startups and in this space today. So yeah, that's where observability is heading.
And but have you seen this? You completely have seen this evolving from the inside of this enterprise. And if we zoom out, where do you think that observability is heading over the next 5 years? Will it become embedded in how business leaders manage risk or growth? Or even if we go a little bit further, how does it look, let's say, in 10 years from now, I've asked you 5 years from now, 2030. If we think about 10 years from now, it's already almost 2040. So when everything is intelligent and is interconnected, how does the team looking like?
I think the way that I look at it in today, how it's happening is today it's we are in a space in the observability where we're trying to correlate the data from IT tech silo tech monitoring systems to the business impact and understanding the correlation, and immediately with AI and agentic AI trying to understand the pattern, anomaly detection, and proactively do self-healing. That's today. But the way that I expect in the next few years is I would expect agentic AI to actually take actions. And today, enterprises and organizations have huge command centers set up where people are monitoring the alerts and logs and then doing the analysis, etc. I think this will go away. I think in 5 to 7 years from now, there will be no command center where people will be sitting. It would be an agentic AI command center where agentic AIs are actually looking at it, understanding the pattern, making the revolution. Maybe in a couple of years, we might be in a situation where agentic AIs will seek human intervention to give approvals to self-heal, etc. But I think down the line, maybe in 5 to 7 years, I don't think so there'll be any human intervention to make self-healing approvals, etc. I think it will be a great shift. I think I'm assuming by 2020, 2030 or so, there'll be no command centers where people will be sitting. It will be more of, agentic AI actually helping us, solve everything remotely and just letting us know, hey, I've already done this. Here is a resolution. Here is what is happening, and this is all fixed. That's what I'm seeing. However, the most important part in the observability space here is while we are going to start building agentic AIs, bots, and everything, it would be very interesting. And the big shift will be about how do you ensure you orchestrate between different AI agents, how they are handing over work from one to two. So, for example, let's say the observability platform has identified an anomaly in your database and it has tried to do something, but ultimately the root cause was identified that, hey, it's not the database, but it's about some application running multiple queries multiple times, which is causing the impact. So there is another agentic AI which hands over the work to the one on the application. How these both are talking to each other and helping solve it without any human intervention. I'm excited to see that future, to be honest. I think that's where we are going. And I don't think so by 2030, we'll have humans sitting in command centers and monitoring alerts and etc. No, even in business command centers, I'm not talking about IT, but even business customer care, etc. I think it will be all zero human.
Listen, I come from the telecom industry, and in the very early days when I started doing the telco job, I remember this what they call the network operations center. There was like this huge rooms with lots of screens that look like this NASA type of thing. Some people, that. So it's a little bit nostalgic, the piece that might not be existing in the near future because now is everything automated and managing. I guess that is a very powerful picture where observability is not just a tool, but it becomes kind of like a nervous system or the enterprise intelligence. And if we move from observability into something even broader, which is the hyperautomation, and I guess that this word now is thrown around a lot everywhere. I've heard everybody speaking about it, but I also believe that doesn't have that much clarity because it's more about way more than chatbots, right? This hyperautomation. It's obviously for sure about automating everything that can be automated, that from workflows to decision making, and many of the cases that you just told us, even on real time across functions. So how do you define this hyper automation, and what does it actually look like inside of large organizations like the one that you are today, like in PepsiCo?
So hyper automation, you're right. This is a word that's thrown around for many, many definitions and many reasons, etc. See, for me, the way that I look at it is it's an end-to-end automation of any process, whether you use an AI, whether you use an ML, or whether you use an RPA or an orchestration tool. It can be anything. Its biggest impact will be in how can we scale it and how can we keep it consistent. And it's not about currently, most of the organizations are looking at, hey, let's automate all the routine tasks. And everything, it starts with, hey, can we automate password resets? There are no passwords today, by the way. But it's
Mm.
about how do you automate the decision-making process in all of this. So I was just giving you about an example of how does one AI agent hand over to another AI agent to fix something and talk to each other and ensure that resolution. But automating that decision-making process using any of these hyper-automation platforms, it can be Ansible or any platform that anyone uses like SR. I think that will be the most interesting part. It has a huge impact on multiple things. Let's not just talk about IT operations. We can also talk about business, etc.
Yeah.
It will help us like faster time to market, improving the entire service reliability, and let's be honest, it's going to help us freeing up the human capital as well for innovation and reducing work from the repetitive tasks that we continue. So it's about how can I ensure that these monitoring policies, how can I resolve incidents, etc. It has to be end to end. A lot of people today look at service organizations, especially look at how do I automate a specific task, but what is the impact of that specific task to the next business or agent or anyone is something that needs to be looked at and see how do you want to hand that over to everyone. That's the most important and increasingly critical way to do it. Another quick big challenge, if I may call out in this, is in most of the service organizations run on their managed services is on either ticket based or the number of people, etc. The fear for them is, hey, if I automate ABC, there will be reduction of so and so. How do I manage it? I think it's important to service organizations and companies to understand that you are going to free up the human capital, and that human capital is invested back into innovation and building this new AI and ML, etc. So there's a lot of fear about hyperautomation, about losing jobs and all in
Yeah.
businesses, etc. But I think that can't be the case. And there's a lot of human capital that is not there. For example, IT guys would need help from functional teams to hyperautomate the businesses, right? So that's where we have to invest in.
I get two questions that I believe that probably become relevant because when done right, hyperautomation is just, it's not just about saving time or cost, but it's also enabling all these new possibilities. But when doing wrong, and there's crazy statistics in there that on digitalization, more than 70% of business are failing because it's not necessarily doing the right way. So I wonder, when it's not doing it right, then what if for the leaders that are watching us today, what are the things that they really need to make sure that they have to nail this, or how to understand when something is doing wrong? Because another thing, and that's my second question, another thing that I've seen is that when you use agentic AI, what happens with the hallucinations of it? Because at the end, the AI won't tell you what doesn't know, right? When we have this human interaction and where things maybe an exception occurs that it didn't occur before, right? Our human brain starts kind of like thinking what to do and so on. But in the case of the machine doesn't know what they don't know. They will probably throw out to you either a solution that in some cases might be good, but some cases we don't know. So
Yeah.
so how do we go first right into the piece of how do we make sure that that is implemented right, or what are the signals that we need to see early if something is not coming the good way, and then what to do with these things that AI doesn't know that we don't know that they don't know and that it
Yeah. So
those things.
excellent. Excellent question. Both questions excellent. First thing, um, in my personal opinion, to ensure that things go right while we're doing hyperautomation, etc., um, getting the right buy-ins from all the stakeholders and culture, the cultural change is something that leaders miss while building hyperautomation and agentic AIs, etc. It's the most important part. We need to ensure that there is adoption part taken care of on how does it impact business, how does it impact IT, understand all the stakeholders. Managing the stakeholders is one of the key things. I think I've seen multiple times talking to my peers across the industry where actually technology works. It's the people and their understanding which actually fails. That is one part of the failure that I have seen. The second part is choosing the right product for your automation and choosing the right technology for your hyper automation or agentic AI, anything. That's also another key thing. So while you choose any product or anything, it's not about how much productivity that you will bring in, or it's not about how much cost it will incur initially compared to the overall productivity or savings that you make it. But it's also about, is it scalable? Is it reliable?
Yeah.
And is it trustworthy from the governance and security part of it? So these are the key things that I would ask leaders to be conscious about. I'm not going to touch about the details of technology and suggestion technology because each organization, different organizations have their own way of assessing their, platforms and products, etc. But I think the culture, people, and understanding that the product is scalable, reliable, and assessing it properly, doing the right product evaluation is one of the key important things that we need to be cautious about before we embark on the journey.
So if I understand correctly, then hyper automatization is not about just doing more with less, but about changing what do we do and how do we define that work itself, right?
Exactly, exactly. And we need to understand what is the impact that we are creating to the business. And we need to have that connect with business, especially the another key thing is IT IT organizations are siloed in their own, you know, in their own way and working, but they should have that understanding of how am I impacting the business and what am I impacting. Having the business understanding is the most another important part. So yes,
Okay, got it, got it. Okay, but today most companies are operating in this complex multi-cloud and awful global environments, right?
yes,
And that creates more, let's gonna call it like surface area, which has more risk and more pressure from regulators. Um,
yes.
and I think about this, for instance, a lot because I come from the telco industry, which happens a lot. So uh, tell us, Vinod, how observability is being used to strengthen that security posture to ensure that regulatory compliance, especially in large and distributed organizations like the one that you're leading, how does that it work? You know, how does this help? You know, or strengthen this position um, for the industries that are working under heavily regulatory compliance?
Yeah. So I think it's a great question because in general, in general, working with a lot of industry peers, etc., and trying to understand this space in the last 1 year, I think observability plays a very critical role in compliance, security, and regulations, whether it's GDPR or SOX or HIPAA, all of them require visibility into data flow. So having right observability platform onboarded to ensure that you track your data flow, understanding the audit trails and events, logs, and matrices for each of it is very, very critical. There are multiple APM platforms that can track the entire journey of the data and can give it at a click of a button or so. It also helps in incident response if there are any security or regulatory incidents that arise. In my personal opinion, what I have seen across the industry are observability can help you trace user actions across services for multiple audits, whether it's internal or external. You can detect and respond to anomalies that might indicate some breaches at times. So a lot of security organizations, and there are security startups on observability space, which I know, and I know someone in from SCP, by the way, in this space on observability and security, who's working on this. And use of agentic AI, etc., can immediately flag deviations from any baselines that you have already set or trends that you already have. And any unusual pattern of accesses or unauthorized changes, etc., they're being identified in a snap. Previously, in the past, all of this was only about someone actually reporting, physically reporting, sending a ticket saying that, hey, I've observed this, etc. But now it's all about there is a flag about the deviation, and the time to identify a security incident has greatly reduced. I was just reading a report some time back, a couple of months back. I think over the past 2 or 3 years, this time to detect a security incident against to resolve has decreased by about 30 to 40% almost. So combined with AI observability, which is now coming with real-time control mechanism, having these agentic AIs which can take actions at a snap, are actually enabling compliance and faster response to security incidents, which is like helping in vital regulated industries like telco or healthcare, etc. I've seen this going, and I know one or two startups who are specifically working on this space.
I like this because you know I think that observability is helping organizations not to respond to incidents, but also building resilience organizations or resilient systems itself. If we kind of like zoom out into maybe I don't know 15 years from now, right? Or even earlier that you tell me, you see that this real time, fully automated compliance monitoring where companies are not just audit ready, but constantly self auditing, making sure that the things are really working, what becomes possible when trust, security, and transparency are completely embedded into that system by design.
Yeah, I think a regulatory compliance and audit industry will change a lot. In similar way as how the procurement industry has changed. For example, just giving an example, the way that at Superfast it changed, organizations are responding to large RFPs at a click of a button, creating responses to RFPs for companies at a click of a button within a day. Previously, the timeline for an RFP was around 20 days or 1 month. Now with AI, organizations are doing it within less than day and week. They're able to ready the response. Similar way, I think the response time will reduce gradually, and there will be more and more of transparency built in. That's the most important part of it, between the business, the regulatory authorities, and the consumers as well in all of these industries, whether it's healthcare, telco, or banking, etc. I think there will be it's going to be kind of a glass in between the industry, consumer, and regulatory, and everything is going to be exposed off, and it's easy to know what's happening with your data, what's happening with my personal data, with a bank or with a telecom company, etc. I think it will change tremendously, and there are positive and negative impacts of it. The positive impact is I know my data is safe because there is so much of transparency, because everything is getting real time reported and actions being taken real time. So that's one part of the good part of it.
Okay.
But the negative side of it, I see, is with the social media and everything gets so transparent and on the social media immediately, and the response to it is also at the same time. It doesn't give time for organizations to think and respond. And I think that's where AI would come and say, hey, how do you want to respond to your security incident that's coming up? And how do you want to tell tell the market? How do you want to respond based on the current market situation? So it's about not about the regulatory industry. It's also about AI should be able to help us based on the current situation, understanding the actual stock price and market. How do you want to respond? Where do you want to respond? Whether you want to go out today or not and put a public stick. I think it's going to change tremendously. But I think social media will play a big role in it. And I know I'm trying to connect 2, 3 different industries, but trust me, there is an impact we don't see today.
For sure. And we've spoken a lot about systems, and what I believe is that behind every system there's obviously people, and the skills that got us here where we are sometimes might not help us to go where we're going in the future. So what are those new skills, that you believe that tech leaders and especially their teams need to thrive in this new era of observability and hyperautomation? Are we talking about AI literacy, system thinking, real-time decision making? What else do you see that is important to have?
I think everyone should know how AI works and how does it react, etc. So there was a time in the past where you can be a leader, but you're not a programmer, or you don't know development code of Java or COBOL or AS400, etc. But you can still be a leader and manager and have hundreds of people working for you. And I think those days are gone. And every leader and every individual and member needs to be constantly upgrading ourselves into every AI or large language models. How do they work? How do they react? How do you increase? How do you fine tune them, etc.? That's something that everyone, whether you're a leader or an individual contributor, I think that's something that is very important. One, two.
So you don't see just to go into this. I guess it's super
Yes,
important.
yes.
So you don't see a leader. Let's say, I don't know. I will ask you to please tell me 5 years from now that doesn't understand AI. Most likely, their company will be gone,
Oh yeah,
or he
I
will be
think
gone from his company, right? But
absolutely,
is it 5?
100%.
Is it 1, 5, 10 years from now?
I think
When?
1 to 3 years, not even
Wow.
5. 1 to 3
So
years.
so
That's how speed it's.
any leader watching today this podcast, it better start, if they don't understand AI, it better start now, because they might be out of their job in the next 12 to 24 months from now. Or if he owns this company, his company might be no longer. That's the
Yeah.
message that you're telling us right now.
Absolutely, that's the message. That doesn't mean that I don't want to scare your audience or anyone, but that's the message. Truly, that's the message, because we are interacting with AI everywhere in day-to-day our jobs everywhere. Whether you're writing your own resume, it's now everything is AI. You need to know how an AI will convert your resume to so you get a right job as well, right? So it's important. Be there and do it. Be technically very sound. You might not be 100% great AI guy, but I think you should understand how does AI and ML, all of this works. That's very important.
But
I think out of
those
3
are
years.
hard skills. Those are hard skills. Now, what about the soft skills? And many times we've been speaking about it. If we think, about uh, what are more other skills? What about mindset or You've led global teams across India, the US, and Mexico. What type of or what kind of leadership or culture makes it possible when you're implementing these technologies well without overwhelming the teams or losing control?
One of the key things every leader in every industry needs to know is, for example, if you're in a banking industry, you should know how the payments work. How does the banking industry work? How does the regulators work?
Yeah.
If you're in a CPG industry, you should know how do you manufacture your products? Where are you manufacturing? What is the supply chain behind it? What is the demand behind it? And how does the market is going on in that particular industry? It is one of the key things. Any industry, anyone, I think that's the big gap that I see across many, many people. A lot of people think that, hey, I know I'm so and so guy. My job is to do this program. I'll write this program. I'll write this code. I'll fix this issue. That's all. But if you don't know what is the impact that you're creating with a good code or a bad code, it's going to change our lives. And again, understanding the business impact, understanding your business intricacies across is very important. You might not be directly doing anything on that, but you should know, because if you look at a lot of jobs in industry, Diana, I see there's a lot of jobs that are not there today. I don't think so. There is a BRM role anywhere today, business relationship manager between IT and business. There are common teams that are doing all of it. There are no project managers who are trying to do all of this coordination. So you should have those agile program management and agile management, and you should be a scrum master. You should be able to manage everything and anything to survive any industry. That's my call. And understanding wherever business you are, whether you're, say, for example, you're a AI startup company and you're doing something, whether it's on observability or marketing or whatever is it, and you're working on AI, you better go understand the business end to end. Maybe your product is not looking at that a part of the business, but it's important to understand the end to end value stream of it. So that's another
So
key skill that I would love to people to
right.
work on.
So it's 2025. Let's gonna think for a moment that we're in 2030. What should a future ready tech leader must look like? Because the world is advancing so quickly. So if you just tell me what year, 3 years from now, you better understand this stuff. But then somebody that has a tech company in 5 years from now, what do you think that they should be looking like? It's going to be only tech founders, leaders?
Um, I think if I look at what are the trends today and in next 5 years, let me talk about firstly observability space, for example. I think there is a convergence of observability and business KPIs, etc. Uh, it's there's no measurement of only observability part. You measure the business KPIs and you track them. So in similarly, we are talking about AI first operations. No, we're not talking about IT operations anymore. We're talking about AI first operations. Anything comes into it, AI is going to solve it. AI is going to manage it. You build large language models, and you shift operations from all these human-led things from to AI assisted. In some cases, AI is going to lead everything. I think that's where the trend is looking at from now to the next 5 years. For any leader across industries, again, I think it's pretty important to understand how do you want to run your operations, how do you want to fine tune your mindset to be AI first and AI led operations rather than human led operations, and then I will do this, and then I will bring in AI, etc. I think that's another important aspect. And a lot of tech leaders, for example, needs to look at how do you want to have a unified platforms and where you will have consolidated tool sets, not siloed tools. to ensure that there is integration of everything, all the systems talking to each other. And there's also about I think in Stanford we leadership we know this context awareness is the most important thing. I think every leader should be context aware of what industry they are playing at, what is their product, and how does that product can help the their consumers and clients. So having those context awareness and automation around it is another important thing, I would say, for the leaders.
So your type of job is that one, I believe, the one that is kind of like driving this revolution. And how do you see the human role evolving as more as of the doing is handled by automation?
So again, as I go back to the previous point that I made, I'm currently looking to use my human capital wherever we are automating to invest back in the new innovations and new areas. So right things for any leader, or including me, is to ensure that if we are hyper automating something or doing something about a specific task and saving XYZ hours or money or cost, I want to reinvest that into the human capital. And how do I improve my people and teams? Because I want to retrain them onto the latest and new technology. Technologies are evolving super fast than anything. So I will reinvest back into the human capital to understand and raise the bar on the learning path for them.
And
It's
I
very
know the
important.
troubles depending. I know that the troubles depending on each company, but for those that are watching us today, that probably their companies are not doing exactly that. What you're saying, that their companies are not investing in them on that. What would you suggest them that they should be start doing? What do you think that they need to start doing today in order to continue thriving for maybe the next 5 years?
I think it's a great question, and yes, first thing, if I want to survive, I want to invest in myself, and this is purely my personal. I would strongly suggest you each of us have to assess ourselves. What's our aspiration? What's our capability? And what are our passions? And where do I want to invest my time and energy? I would strongly suggest understanding the trends in your own space, and train yourself and be aware of what's coming up next in the industry. Most importantly, I would strongly suggest to network with your industry peers, not just with your colleagues or friends, but the industry peers. Be open to reach out and understand what are the trends in your specific industry and be on top of it and learn them, and go back and see if you can bring those new technologies and whatever you've learned back to your organizations, etc. There are many organizations waiting for people like people leaders, and technology leaders like us to come back from our learnings from outside to guide them through the path. So it's very important to do that. And a lot of times we get lost in our day-to-day job.
Yeah.
And I think we should take some time to learn the latest technology trends, especially whether you're in observability, whether you're in AI space, whether you're in hyper automation. It's evolving super, super fast. So we need to understand not just the platform that your organization is working on. You need to know what are the other competitive platforms, understand the technology, learn the technology, and ensure and encourage your teams also to do that. So that would be my suggestion, Diana.
I really like this because it sounds like the next competitive advantage might not be the tech stack itself, but more the talent stack,
Yes.
right? That
Yes.
mindset and how quickly leaders are adapting. So I like this. So we have arrived to this section of ours at the Tech Foresight podcast. We always like to have this dose of clarity and a little bit of imagination. We call this segment the 4 trends and the 4 dreams. And first, I would like you to go and start sharing with us these 4 trends that you are watching. And I would love to take this thing like let's go and see what is happening today in your industry, especially in the observability space. And from there, we'll probably do a zoom out and then think about the future. So let's going to start with these 4 trends.
I think there are four trends that I look at is convergence of observability with business that we spoke about. That is one big thing, and the rise of AI first operations is the second big thing. And the third one would also be about digital twins for business operations, where we will create real-time virtual models of our systems for scenario simulation and anomaly detection and proactively mitigating issues and incidents and risks that you actually foresee. So I think these are the four things that I am looking at as key trends.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if and then we're gonna try to look beyond. Let's position ourselves to 2050, and you have full freedom to dream, no budget, no limits, no legacy systems. What are those 4 bold visions that you have for the future of intelligent operations?
Excellent. Great question, and thanks for this. It opens up my mind. Couple of things is I don't feel and I don't wish that there will be any command centers anymore after 5 years or 10 years itself. The second big thing that I dream about is about having zero waste observability. Today we collect enormous amount of data, right? And multiple systems across large enterprises. And I think there should be a day where we will only collect what's valuable, and system should intelligently decide what data to ingest and based on its actionability and value, and make the decision by itself, not waste a lot of storage space and license costs, etc. That's that's something that I would dream of. Um, the the other thing that I would dream of is common language for tech and business. I don't know how much you've observed, but technology teams talk in one language and business teams talk in one language, and there's
The Babel Tower of tech. I love this.
yeah, and I feel where developers, operations teams, business leaders all talk in the same shared outcome, language, insights, and breaking down the silos forever. I wish to just have that in 2050 or 2030 at least. So, whatever. I wish to have that. And another big thing is, I think, self-healing digital systems where um, today what happens is you have an application or infrastructure, etc., and on top of it you layer on an observability platform based on whatever is it, and then that does observability, and either you have another platform for automation and that works with observability and that resolves, and there are 3 systems. I think the digital ecosystem, the way it should evolve in is it whatever, for example, if it's an application or a server or infrastructure, whatever is it, it should be able to detect, self-heal, and report. It should be in one single system, not multiple platforms. You have an observability platform, you have an application platform, you have an infra platform, etc. I think this will all be one single platform. I wish to go there, which will reduce a lot of complexities today. Yeah, those are the things, trends that I would expect.
I really love how your dreams are not just upgrading the tech, but they're reimagining what's possible when the systems are built to also serve the people, not just the processes. So I really, really like this. And we've talked about systems. We spoke about skills and the future. And I would like to end with something a little bit more personal. So if you could go back, Vinod, when you were 18 years old, what will be that one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Oh, wow, that's a nice question. What would I give? One piece of advice is um, take risks, I wouldn't take risk at 18 to 25 years of age. I would have taken more risk if I would have advised my 18-year-old self now. I think every one of us should be able to take risks during that age, should have the appetite, should not look back and just do it a snap of it. I feel jealous of today's generation where they're able to take a lot of risks than when I was. So that's one advice I would give for myself: take risks and be bold.
Uh, let,
Yeah,
let me then change it now. What is the best advice that you ever received? And it could be now, yesterday, whatever years ago. What do you think is the best advice somebody has given to you?
people are at the center of everything that we do. While we're talking about agentic AIs and technology trends, I don't think so. We'll be talking about agentic AIs after 5 years. We might be talking about something different. Trends might evolve. But trust me, people are at the center of everything. And as a leader, as a human being, as a self, family person, I think we should keep ourselves as the most prioritized priority in our life, and at the same time the people around us and the family around us. I think that's the best advice I have ever got. I think it was one of the eye openers in the SCP session as well by Sarah. I can't forget it. So yes, that's the most best advice I have ever got, Diana.
All right. Well, this is really a super interesting and thoughtful conversation, Vinod. And before we leave, I would love to share with you my three takeaways, if you allow me. The first
Oh,
one is observability is no longer just about visibility; it's about foresight. With especially with AI, we're just not reacting to incidents; we are predicting them. So this is my takeaway number one. My takeaway number two is hyper automation is just not one tech upgrade. It's actually a leadership mindset shift. I love how do you put it in there. We need to make sure that the ways that we're structuring teams, we measure also the value that they work itself. And then the number three takeaway that I have in here is the future of operations are human led and machine accelerated. We need these new skills that you were telling us with the new roles and the new ways of thinking, especially for those that are in the leadership seat. They need to get their mind into how this new technology is working, is how AI is working. Otherwise, you might not have a seat. Did I get it right, Vinod? Did I miss anything
perfect.
else?
No, I think Diana, you've perfectly summarized it. I think those are the three big takeaways, and I hope the audience enjoy the podcast and have those takeaways, and hope it helps them.
So before we leave, and now that the leaders that are listening to this, that there are many leaders building their teams, scaling the infrastructure, that are especially on these days are facing lots of uncertainty. What is that one thing that you believe that they are not thinking about, but they should be? What is especially if they want to lead with this foresight in this new era of automation and intelligence? What would you tell them that they should be thinking about?
I think the leaders and individuals and everyone are there's a lot of misconception that AI will, you know, we will lose our jobs and all of it. I think one of the key things that we should all think about is how do I use it and utilize it rather than and make AI help me to grow in an organization and upskill myself and use it and learn, unlearn, and relearn. I think that's what every individual and leaders needs to look at it. And every leaders also need to look at what is the application of AI and observability or hyperautomation or any technology in their own context, and map it with what are the actual business driving, not the IT, but the business driving, and map that context between IT, the business, and the latest technology trend. I think that bridging that gap is the most important thing for the success, because that will help you to sell the use cases that you have that will help you to drive the adoption, that will help you to change the culture and mindset of the people whom you are impacting. That will also help businesses grow faster. So I think that's what I would say.
And I think that that's something we all need to hear, especially in these times of rapid change. Grounding ourselves in purpose also while reaching forward is super important. Vinod, thank you. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you for being part of this Tech Foresight podcast and for helping us seeing what is just not possible, but also what is coming next. Thank you, Vinod.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Well, to our listeners, if this episode has sparked something for you, please share it, rate it, put us you like it or not, and send it to a colleague who is building the future with you. And as always, please stay curious, stay bold, and keep looking forward. This is the Tech Foresight podcast. I am Diana Daniels. See you next time.